Hello everybody, I'm Nu-Trix the Synth guy, and today I'm talking about Omega from Bleass. It's a 4-operator FM synth for the iPad and for the computer also. It's also for Mac, for desktop. I have here a TX81Z from Yamaha. And I'm like, well, okay. It's a 4-operator synthesizer, FM synthesizer. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about FM operators and modulators and carriers and feedback, go watch this video here where I actually explain the basics of how FM works, you know, how it was designed and how it should work in the original intent. Now, of course, today things go wherever you want it to go. But what's interesting is that the original DX7 was a 6-operator, 32 algorithms or 32 different ways to combine them and then make your sound. Now, there has been a huge amount of other synthesizer, not as powerful as the DX7 because they didn't have 6 operators, they had only 4 of them. And the TX81Z was one of the original 4 operators, and what's interesting about that one is that it also has more than just the sine wave as a sound source. So it's open to other type of waveform and complexity in the sound. If you don't follow me, again, go watch the basic FM introduction and quick tips to understand what I'm talking about. But what I want to do today is to actually use the new Omega synth from Bleass and recreate one of the classic of the FM time and sound. Of course, the DX7 is known for a lot of different sounds, but I'm not talking about DX7 here. I'm talking about the TX81Z and the fact that it is a 4 operators, just like the Bleass app is. So can I do the same sound, the LatelyBass, which is part of so many different songs of pop music and electronic music of, I would say, late 80s, early 90s, LatelyBass. And it sounds like this. Okay, now this is the original from the TX81Z. So what I did, I took one by one all the values of the sound. I wrote them down, and then I tried to recreate it with the Bleass Omega synth. Try this. See how close I can get. And what I did, I actually hook up my keyboard here to it so I can actually just play, or I can play on the screen. So this is my initialized sound. So what I hear is the operator number 1. I have these operators here, and I don't hear them, I just hear the first one. So how we approach this, first of all, the attack, decay, sustain, release that we have here is a little bit less complex than the TX81Z or the FM synth. They would have time and level. Of course, the smaller one, the 4 operators, had less complex options and amount of steps in the envelopes. So this would do the job. If we look at the original, wait a sec. The original envelopes, all of them were, like, there's this number like 31. That's the value. Now, keep in mind that on the TX81Z, 31 means basically really fast because it's a rate. So high rate, quick, like high speed, and low rate, slow. So 31 is really fast. So this here in operators 1, 2, 3, and 4, I should put it at, 2 milliseconds, as fast as possible. It's the quickest you can go. Then you have 9 on 31 as the rate to go to the next step, which is 0, which is 0 level. So basically you're going to have a fast attack and you're going to go to 0 at 9 on 31. Now, the problem is 9, or if, let's say we say 15, it's not going to be half the speed because the speed of these envelopes is not linear. So as you go faster, it goes really, really faster. If you go slow, so that it's not linear. So I basically had to do it by ear until I found that it was what I wanted. And I played the two of them at the same time, the TX81Z and the Bleass Omega. The first, draft I did, just by trying to have values that was numerically sensible, to be kind of, it fits the right ratio. It didn't sound right at all. So I basically went to do it by ear. And I'm going to load right away the one that I found that is the closest to the sound. So I'm going to turn off these. So I try to recreate the envelope. Basically, it's simple. The sound of LatelyBass is basically kind of a rubber band bass, very short. So it has to be very quick. If I bring the volume, let's say I'm going to bring that back in. So get that. So you go, well, it sounds a little bit too bright. Yeah, you're right, because velocity will do a big job here. Because if you play soft, you play louder or harder on the keys, you get that sound is, building up to something that is really interesting. And that's where I've got two problems. I've got more than two problems, but the main problems to have exactly the same. First of all, it's not a recreation of the TX81Z, so it's not the same options. So, but still gonna get these. It's a cool. So it's a cool sound. If you write that you want them in the comments, I'll put a link somewhere and figure out I'll send it to you guys. So I've got this sound, which is not using the same algorithm, because one of the important thing is this here, is the choice of the algorithm. And guess what? Well, we don't have the same options in the TX81Z as you have in Bleass Omega, which is kind of normal because it's a choice that the company makes. The algorithms are basically ways to combine the operators are not the same. So the one that we have in the TX81Z for LatelyBass does not exist in Bleass. So I cannot have exactly the same combination. And there's another reason why it won't sound exactly the same, is that in Bleass, all the operators are sine wave, which is the traditional way to do FM. But as Yamaha over time came up with more affordable rack mounts, unit, and stuff like that, like the TX81Z, which has 4 operators, but the 4 of them can have different wave shapes than just sine waves. So you can have complex or more complex sine wave or waves to use in the FM combination. So it's like having, in the case of, let's say, Omega or the DX7, to have complex waveform, you would have to use the feedback, or you would have to modulate a carrier or another modulator. That this one becomes complex, and then it can affects the next one. So by having one oscillator, one operator that is complex, right away you can have a complex sound affecting it. So the best or the closest I could find is this one here, where you have the feedback on operator number 4, and that one is affecting 2 operators. Both of them are affecting the operator that we hear. You get that rubber band type of sound. It's not the same at all. And if I change this, I can go with, this is less rubberish. Actually, I'm going to go and take LatelyBass. That's the then I just played around with it. After I found that sound, I played around with it, and I went from this one, that's it, like that rubber type of I got this one. As soon as you have one that you find interesting, like this one, what you should do is then play around with the algorithms. You'll find different variation of the same sound, and then the one that has the feedback, that's the one you actually go in and you go, okay, this one's going to put more feedback. Well, that's maybe too loud, and then you go and operator 4 in this case, bring that down. And keep in mind that the velocity is really interesting. If you put it 0, you also always have the full sound, the exact sound. If then you bring that up, you only get that sound if you play hard. If you play soft, you don't have it. Then you play harder. So that's really cool. I like that. I like that sound. I like that approach. So that's for the bass, and I'll stick with that for now because I want to show you also what Bleass is. You have the filter section, which is not normal in the FM synth, but you can have that, and you have a filter envelope and you have a wave shaper. So if you go further with that, and you really have something that is, you know, really aggressive with this if you want, and you have the filter again. So then you are way beyond what an FM synth can do. It becomes a mix between an analog, virtual analog synth with, you know, attitude with the wave shaper, plus an FM sound source. You've got on top of that modulation to LFO, you can assign whatever you want. An extra envelope generator you can assign to whatever you want. You've got the motion sequencer, like, you know, a lot of the other Bleass app. You can turn it on. You can actually use this like this. You've got the effects section, chorus, tremolo, delay, reverb. All of this is wonderful. You can, I mean, they all sound really great. Everything that Bleass did, I'm a fan. They do it. It sounds nice. It's well built. And the general section, that's where you have general information like modulation, what it controls, the mod wheel, the pitch band. You have an arpeggiator at the front here, velocity. Does it affect the filter, the volume of the envelope generator? And is it a poly mode or bass mode? Actually, I don't like to be in poly mode when I do. So I prefer to switch it to mono in that case. I like it like that. I find it's nicer. That said, the one thing I really find interesting is to go into this section of the FM and, you know, play with the gut of FM and make it yours. Play with that. Have some fun. If you like FM, a 4-operator synth like the Bleass Omega is probably one thing you should have. And then remember that this exists as a app for your iPad and for your computer. So when you switch between the two, you have the same sound, same presets, and it sounds really cool. That's it. Short one. Stay safe. Make more music. See you soon. Cheers.